Hey everybody, it's Pete. How are you today? Thank you so much for choosing to be with me today. We're going to take a look at the top stocks to buy now, setting up a trading game plan for Friday, June 25th, 2021. Thank you so much for being here. We have the magic legal pad that I do all my old school hand notes every day. I save these. I hope you do the same thing. So I just want to give you a rundown of exactly what we're going to talk about in this video, exactly which sectors we're going to be looking at, and so you can take notes on which ideas. So we're actually going to start out looking at the market and then dive into the individual sectors. I'm actually going to show you the entire list of 32 stocks that meet the criteria tomorrow. But there's a really interesting thing here. Normally, when the markets are taking off and sitting and resting at all-time highs, there's usually a sector or a group of stocks that is like, yeah, that's where we're all jumping into. We're not seeing that right now. And that's a positive and a negative. I'm going to get to that in a second. We're going to take a look at two healthcare stocks that are setting up right near optimal entries today. We're looking for follow through tomorrow. We're going to take a look at a sneaker company, which I think you know, it's Nike we'll talk about. I looked at it, it was up 7% after earnings. And the next time I looked at it, it was up 16% after earnings, exploding today, very much the way Tesla did today. We'll take a quick look at Tesla as well. We're going to look at the infrastructure deal that was passed today, which stocks will benefit from the infrastructure deal. And then we're going to wind it up with a few other key stocks to trade. So stick around. I'll be back in just 2 seconds. Okay, we're actually going to jump right into it. If I could just ask you for a favor, though, we're actually hosting a webinar soon, definitely within the next week or so. And I'm creating the content based on what's bothering you the most, what your biggest challenges are. So if you could please do me a favor, leave a comment below. Let me know. We all have these goals in trading, right? The whole reason we're trying to buy stocks and make the stock market make money for us is we want to be somewhere else. We want to try and become someone else. And I'm curious, what are the biggest challenges that you have right now? What do you believe is standing in your way from being where you want to be in the stock market related to stock trading? What do you think are the obstacles? What do you think are the roadblocks? Leave those comments below. We're taking notes. We're going to use your comments as fuel to create a really good training session for you coming up definitely within the next week or so. By the way, if you like this kind of, it's all real here. I do this live. If you like this kind of content, please do me a favor and subscribe. You get this kind of comedy too. And make sure you hit the alert button. You'll get the updates as well. But as I promised, we're actually going to jump into the bigger list of stocks before we watch the market. And there's a positive and a negative over that. And this is really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to show you the list because it is really mixed. And when I say mixed, I'm actually going to zoom this in just a little bit, where there is just a lack of clarity on, like, there's not one sector. Actually, let me zoom that out a little bit. These are the sectors. These are the individual industry groups. There isn't one dominating. And when we take a look at the actual sectors, we're starting to get better into the green. The day is not really as awesome. Mostly positive, which is good. The weekly chart is rising to the top again. Energy went from the doghouse right back to the top. Basic materials and industrials got a lift from the infrastructure deal that we're going to talk about today. But what's super interesting is, we've been talking about technology for the better part of 3 weeks now, but you look at the list, it's not really dominated by one sector, not one group. And by the way, this is the actual list that I'm going to be focusing on tomorrow, so you can snapshot that for yourself. So what does that mean? Why is that good, and why is that something to be a little bit aware of? Normally, you have these all-time highs, and you say those stocks are the ones that everybody's piling into, the dot-com stocks, the tech stocks, the energy stocks, or whatever it happens to be. Right now, if you've been having a hard time with hanging on to your swing trades and feel like they're bursting in your favor and coming right back down to where you got in, that's the market that we're in right now, and that's what's showing up on that sheet. Can't complain about it. That's the market we have. Stop complaining that we're sitting in that kind of traffic. You have to take the profits, use different profit maximizers like we teach in our community. By the way, our community is growing right now. I'm very proud of it. For those of you that happen to be in the community behind us in the curtain right now, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you're in there. And if you're not behind the curtain and in our community, definitely click the link below and learn about how to get in there. The good part is we're reacting to the market we have. We're letting stocks move in our favor 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, taking that profit off the table, looking for another trade. The downside, if you can call it a downside, is that it really requires putting on your overalls right now and digging it out. Go and get it. This is not a lazy person's market right now. We're just going to sit back and let everything take off. Even the people trading the meme stocks right now, it hasn't been, yeah, we're going and we're just going to watch this thing fly. They've been taking off, pulling back 2 days, going into melted candles, falling asleep, and then maybe jumping for an hour. And if you missed it, you were gone. This requires blue collar trading right now, and I guess that's kind of what I do. It's all, you get in there, you put on the overalls, and you dig the money out, and that's how you make the market make you money. So if you're struggling right now, you have to adapt to what's available, not the market that you have in your head that you would like to see. There will be opportunity when we pick a direction and break out. Look, we've been talking about it. Technology faded today. Solar stocks faded today. Those have been the ones that have been on fire. So what do we do as a community? We pay attention to where the market's going. Exactly what I showed you at the beginning of this call, at the beginning of every call, quite honestly, is we go to find the smart money, and then we look for a spot to piggyback on board. So how does that relate to today's trading ideas? Well, starting out with Nike, as we said, Nike actually had earnings after the market. Sales were good. Guidance was good. Everything was good. Digital sales, obviously, everything digital sales is exploding right now, right? So where is the stock? Well, we'll come back to the market in a second. Nike it was rallying. We actually commented that it was rallying 5 days into earnings. And you're like, wow, that's great. Look how strong the stock is. It's probably going to open up and hit the resistance over here, right? Well, let's take a look where Nike is right now, and we'll actually draw a line. So you would think that like this would have been the area, right up into that area, good push into that level, right, to finish up nice, strong into earnings. It's almost at 150. It is all the way up. It's actually off the chart. That's how high up the stock has traded right now. So the question is, how do we trade that tomorrow? What exactly we're going to do with Nike tomorrow, where the stock is probably going to end up being close to 13 to 15% higher on the open after it already rallied 5 days into that. This is really where this is what separates those who are on top of their game and paying attention versus those who are fighting and only see one side of the street. What I'm going to teach you right now is a little lesson in tape reading, and it's a little lesson, but it's a big one. And you need to have your line in the sand. When you're reading the tape, you have a price that's moving away from in that direction or moving away from in that direction, but you need to know that price before you start to read the tape. And everybody's, I don't know how to read the tape. It's so difficult. It's so challenging. Well, you know how to do it right now. I guarantee you know how to read the tape. Let that sink in there for a dramatic pause, right? Be like, what is he talking about? You know how to read the tape, because if you put on a position, nobody on Wall Street knows that stock better than you, because it's moving in your favor and you're happy. You're moving away from you and you're like, and you're not happy anymore. That's tape reading. The challenge with tape reading before you put the trade on is knowing what level. And if you go all the way back to Sunday's video that we did, which you'll see another one of those this week with the top 5 picks, we said that we were going to challenge the market this week to hold that opening price of the weekly candlesticks. And that was the focus for the week. The SPY, the market, the ETFs, for the most part, indices have done that. So how does that relate to Nike and trading Nike tomorrow? If you're an active trader, I'm not talking about a longer-term swing trade. I'm not initiating a new swing trade after the stock just went from 126 to 150 in a week. What I am looking to do is use the opening price of the day, and I'm going to actually use Nike today as an example, and we'll go over to the chart. So you can see here's Nike, but what we're going to do is we're going to actually zoom out to here, which is the 5-minute chart. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a day trader. It doesn't matter, because we're going to actually use this as a lesson more than anything else. So wherever Nike opens tomorrow, that's the opening print. I am only going to be looking for buying opportunities as long as it's above the opening price. Now, to drill that down deeper into a hour by hour by hour lesson, that's the opening price. Then we start to look at either the 15-minute chart or more specifically the hourly chart. And you have that big line in the sand. And now you look at the opening price from 9:30 to 10:30 to 11:30 to 12:30, so the bottom of every hour, and you keep essentially resetting that hour. So if we go over here to this day, which is probably a better example, right? This is the opening price of the day. and that also happens to be the 9:30 to 10:30 candlestick. Then you have the next candlestick, which is 10:30 to 11:30, 11:30 to 12:30. So for this entire hour, that candlestick on the hourly chart is green, and you're above the opening price. As long as that simple criteria is still in place, tomorrow on Nike, I'm using Nike from a couple of days ago as an example for how to trade it on Friday after this massive gap up. You're going to force the tape to look a certain way, and if it stays there above the open price, above a green hourly candlestick, which starts at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, only then do you dig in there as an active day trader and look for spots to get long. If it opens here and starts to trade down here, we don't want to be catching it on the way down. We want it to reset itself. So if this is the opening price of the hour, goes down from 9:30 to 10:30, and that's all selling, you leave it alone. But then when 10:30 comes around, if 10:30 comes around and that 10:30 hourly candlestick starting from 10:30 to 11:30, if that turns green, that's when I'll be looking for new opportunities in the stock that's just exploded. This is how you have a sense of, is right now's price action, is right now's order flow in sync with the longer term order flow, which in this case is that giant bullish gap. So that's how I'm going to day trade Nike tomorrow, and then probably wait for it to pause a couple of days before I put on a new swing trade. So that's really a game plan for tomorrow, for buying Nike stock tomorrow, exactly how and when to do it well before the market opens. And that actually makes it easier because you planned out what we're going to do already well before the market opens. So if that criteria gets met, you're just basically sitting back, drinking coffee and saying, okay, when that happens, only then do we look for opportunities to buy. We're going to shift right over and take a look at a couple of other stocks that I promised you today. We're going to go right back out to the daily chart, and we're going to look at healthcare stocks. Novavax is the first one. So it actually had some news over here that was perceived as good, and you can see they sold the news, which, by the way, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Bounced back a couple of days and paused again. Now, I want to be clear on this. This is super, super important. It gets misinterpreted sometimes. Actually, let me put that on the other side. It gets misinterpreted sometimes. I'm only buying it if it goes higher. After this 2-day rally and 2-day pause, I am looking for NVAX to get back above the 195, 197 level, and then look for buying. The same thing with Moderna. I want it moving in my favor after this pause. Out of the two of them, I'm expecting mRNA, Moderna, to actually spike through this 220, 225 level and run right up into that 240 area over the next few days. So two healthcare stocks looks similar in setup. Moderna has a little bit of a better setup on that chart. Two other ones I want to point out. Mara, crypto stock, actually had a really nice reversal. What's exciting about this one is bearish gap, bullish U-turn, which I've been teaching everybody this week. Look bearish again, right? Having a hard time getting through this resistance and then pounded through it today, which is really impressive. I know this is trading with Bitcoin, but Mara stock actually behaved really good today. Got above that resistance sneakily because over here where you expected it, it couldn't. Today it did. I like the fact that it held the bid today. We've been talking about that. Plug coming off of earnings, really underperforming, probably a little bit of an exaggerated move after earnings. We still need to get above the 34 level and stay there. It hasn't, but I really like the setup for tomorrow. If it, again, in the full context, if it trades above 34, 34.50, it's got plenty of room to go. If it opens flat and trades down, we just leave it alone. We don't even touch it. So in case you didn't hear about it today, the infrastructure deal that was signed, really, really big, $1.2 trillion infrastructure deal. A lot of stocks bounced today when this news came out, anything that's going to be related to benefiting from the infrastructure. So we're actually going to comment and give you a short list of stocks that you can pay attention to now with this deal in place. So obviously we're talking about basic material stocks and that kind of stuff. So you can write this list down, STLD. I'll actually post this in the comments. STLD, which had a really good reversal today, NUE. And to just give you an idea of like what actually happened during the day in some of these stocks, this is what these stocks look like when the announcement is made. So we're giving you ideas of stocks that are in the crosshairs of benefiting from the new infrastructure deal. Caterpillar as well, Alcoa, which reports earnings in a bit, FCX, Freeport McMoran, and John Deere. Okay, we have a few more that meet the criteria. I'll just give you a few more ideas. Obviously, oh gosh, what was the one that I had in my mind? Oh, CHPT, okay, and PAVE, which is the ETF. So you can get a little bit of a wider idea that Eaton Corporation as well. So why is this so exciting? Well, for the same reason that quantitative easing was exciting, for the same reason that the stimulus package was exciting. There's a giant government bid under the market again. That's good news, regardless of what Michael Burry thinks, regardless of all the talk about inflation. As of right now, that is the road that we're on. It might be stop and go, but we're still definitely heading north. The SPY gapped up, went sideways, and it's not selling. It might not be those giant green candles that we want to see pop through into all-time highs, but we're also not seeing a giant red candle either. So we have to put that into context. As much as we're not seeing amazing, we're far from seeing reversals. So remember that lesson that I just taught you about tape reading. It doesn't matter if it's Nike tomorrow, the market, or anything else. Go back to last Sunday's video. I made a challenge, and I was very specific. Hold that opening price Monday's open. Tomorrow, in a lot of these stocks that are opening higher and set to open higher, have that line in the sand. Have your tape reading level that matters to you, and only trade off of that. You'll find trading to be a lot less stressful, and that's what we're here for, right? Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. I really appreciate it. We had some really good swing trades we exited today. If you're struggling right now and you can't find that optimal entry, please click below. Learn about what we do behind the curtain. Learn what we do in our private community. I'd love to see you there. We just have some amazing, amazing people in our community. And don't forget, leave a comment below. Let me know what your biggest challenges are so I can start to tailor that training to exactly what you're struggling with so we can answer you and hopefully get you to the next level. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. This is a game plan for Friday, June 25th, 2021. Thank you so much, everybody.